Alright, today, live review of the Benromach 10-year-old space-sized single Scotch whiskey, provided by one Fred Wretched. Thank you, Fred Wretched, for sponsoring this bottle. This is a Gordon and MacPhail product. They own the Benromach distillery these days. Yeah, Sploon. This is 43% ABV, 86 proof. It is chill filtered, but it is of natural color. And this is a mix, 10 years in first fill ex-bourbon barrels and hogshead. Oh, is it? Actually, I think this is first fill ex-bourbon and ex-sherry hogsheads. I think it's not bourbon barrels and sherry hogsheads. I think it's actually all hogsheads, bourbon and sherry hogsheads. I think that's what that's written there. First fill ex-bourbon and ex-sherry hogsheads. I'm assuming that's right. And this is lightly smoky. This is about 10 to 15 ppm kind of smoky. So there's a smoky whiff on this, but it's not super peated. It's just lightly dabbled, lightly peated, if you will. And what's the thing we always say about Benromach, which is interesting, is the distillery is run by two people. One of them, I'm assuming, is this Keith Cruikshank, who is the distillery manager. He's one person. We'd like to know who the other person is. They were not important enough to put on the bottle. Two-man operation. We got one. The other guy, who knows? Maybe he's the hired hand. Anyway, yeah. This distillery run by literally two guys. And again, we will rate this out of 100. 25 for aroma, 25 for palate, 25 for finish, 10 for texture, and 15 for my personal experience. This fine single malt space-side Scotch whiskey. Boom. Excellent. We've actually gotten through this a little bit, to be honest. This one must actually be good, because I have bottles that are like a year older than this that have the same amount of liquid out of them. We've been enjoying this Benromach. That, or I think it's a good compare target too. It's just that subtle smoke has got some interesting A/B comparison potential. And this is natural color here. Natural color, 10 years mix of bourbon and sherry first fill hogsheads. Au naturel. So pretty nice, actually, for 10-year natural color. But again, there are small sherry barrels in this. Again, we're not talking about a big sherry butt. We're talking about a first fill sherry hogshead. Naturally, it's a seasoned sherry hogshead, probably. But, you know, a small sherry hogshead gives you some real color on this guy in only 10 years. Yeah, this is a GM distillery these days. So it'll be interesting to see how Benromach progresses now that it's one of Gordon MacPhail's singular focuses. Yeah, so right on the nose there's a good sense of smoke, but there's also like a luscious orchard fruit, and there's a sherry influence as well. You kind of get some of that slightly nutty dried raisin kind of character alongside like a more full like apple pear kind of fruit. And there's just a slight whiff of smoke, like there's a campfire over there kind of idea. But those fruits are pretty nice on here. Getting some good strong elements. That being said, nothing super duper surprising. And lacking immediately is any kind of like malty note. Or like inherent like sweet notes. But again, this is an entirely first fill maturation. So as a result, that barrel impact is at the maximum for this age statement. Especially using smaller than normal sherry barrels. Again, we're not using a sherry butt. It's a sherry hogshead, which for those of you keeping track of at home, a sherry hogshead is basically just slightly bigger than a barrel, rather than like twice the size of a barrel. Alright, Benromach, 10-year-old, Speyside, single malt Scotch whiskey on the palate, Slunchva. Good smoky notes on the palate. Today I'm mostly getting that sherry character, that kind of like raisin character on the palate. Into like a bit of spiciness on the back palate. And finish today is mostly that darker spices into like chocolate with a smoke component. That like unsweetened chocolate on the finish. Actually kind of like also presenting a little bit sooty, surprisingly. I'm not quite getting that malty note, and it's not guaranteed, but it's almost surprising. Like even in like very aggressive, like sherry bomby whiskeys, sometimes you can get in there and get that malt note or that underlying like honey kind of sweetness. And I'm definitely not quite getting much more than that like nice orchard fruit, some dried raisin component, maybe some like fresh berries. Like like I don't hate blackberry here. There's something like about the combination of like the like lighter fruity components and like the sherry components that kind of feels slightly less dried, but not quite like, you know, strawberries and blueberries, but like that's, you know, I don't hate blackberry as a note here. It's not that sweet though. It's like almost like a tart blackberry. Bye, King M. But not quite getting that underlying sweetness like honey, malt character, or like some of the dark toffee syrup kind of thing sometimes you get off of a deep sherry. Also, like absent for me today is like maybe like a bourbon vanilla or this kind of thing. It's not quite there for me today. It's not yet. Again, palate has a nice touch of smoke. You get that kind of like blackberry, raisin, dark spices, kind of character to the palate. And then you kind of get into the finish with some of that, again, slight smokiness, a little bit sooty, that unsweetened chocolate on the back end. Finish is like medium, like fair. It's like a fair. And texture is like reasonable. It doesn't come across as super watery, but nothing to be excited about. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've gotten malt notes out of this before, but I'm not getting them today. Maybe it has something to do with the temperature in the room. I don't know, but it's not there. Like, it feels like today, like it's more on the sherry than my flavor memory would suggest. I kind of felt like when I've had this before, it was more in that like bourbon sherry line where it wasn't overly sherried. It had some like sweet elements to it, some malty character with a whiff of smoke. And today it just feels like there's like that lighter fruit component, but I'm not getting like the honey, vanilla, syrup kind of world. It's mostly the sherry components. There's maybe something in there that I would get close to, like maybe like a hay, but not like a sweet malt or anything. One more sip and we'll talk about some numbers. It's not bad. I'm just missing that sweet part. And I'm trying to be patient because I know in my experience that like sweetnesses can be produced like with more resting, but I've kind of given it a good amount of time to show something and it's just not there. At least not today. It doesn't seem like. One glass. Everyone knows the rules. Right. All right, at 25 on the aroma. I didn't see you throw it on the floor. There's no honey note today. Again, nice, fresh orchard fruits. Some like maybe like berry fruit, blackberry especially, blueberry, strawberry, no, raspberry, no, like blackberry, kind of dark berry fruit, a little bit tart, not too sweet. That dried fruit component like raisin date. And a nice whiff of smoke layered just over top of that. On a day where this gave me more sweet and bourbon notes, it would definitely be above 17. Today, I think it's just 17. It's pretty good, but it's not the bestest ever. All right, let's talk about the palate. Again, on a 25, mostly sherry kind of notes here. That smoke really adds something. Not as intense of a flavor as I would prefer. 15. And now let's talk about the finish. Which is again, mostly on that kind of like smoke, chocolate, kind of like dark and sooty notes. A little bit of a barrel actually in there too. Again, medium, good. 16. And on a 10, the texture, which again, it actually seems pretty good on the texture relatively, but again, it's nothing to be super excited about. I think 5 is fair. It's not too super duper watery, but it's not that thick. It's not really got the oily thing going on like, you know, similar low proof, high texture things. It's not triple distilled. It's fine. So out of 15, how do I feel about the Benromach 10-year-old Space Side Single Malt Scotch whiskey? It honestly is pretty good, but today it's not as good as I remember. And of course, some bottles get a glowing review day, and some bottles get an unfortunate review day. And I don't know if it's like because it's just hot in here today, or this is something that happens at this fill level of the bottle, or what the deal is. But I remember getting more ex-bourbon characteristics out of this whiskey. More kind of like sweetnesses, some more like rich sweetnesses, and like, you know, like maybe like slight vanilla, slight syrup, kind of thing. And it's not hitting for me today. There is some nice fruity characteristics, and the sherry is like mostly dominant. But it kind of feels like a little bit lesser dimensional than I remember. That being said, it's still pretty good. I like the light smoke character. There's just enough smoke that you really can, you know, feel the impact of the peat, but it definitely gives way for lots of other notes to be present. You're not fighting through smoke to get those other flavors. They're the main player, and you kind of like detect the smoke around them. So that's kind of nice. But nothing wowing me about this one. Really missing some ex-bourbon flavors for me today to be truly delicious. I think it's pretty good, but it's not wowing me today. It's like fine. Like, it's not forgettable, but it's like maybe a 6. All right. So this one, Benromach 10-year-old, 17 and 15 and 16 and 5 and 6 is 59 out of 100. We calls good. It's good. I think that's fair, actually. You know, think about it. I think that's fair. It's in it's an upper good. You know, it's pretty reasonable. It's not quite great. It's just shy of great. And despite the fact that it didn't really feel like it showed up today. Like I felt like it has a possibility to. I kind of still feel like that rating's fair for what you get here. So that's good. Literally good.